You may have heard that Edmond is building our own Canvas content for K-5 Virtual Edmond. It definitely looks different than what you're doing with Canvas as a classroom teacher for AB days. While it does have some potential use for classroom teachers long-term, it is built for Virtual Edmond and not designed for your AB remote days. No action is required from you. Classroom teachers are not required to use VE content, nor are we asking you to pivot from what you're already doing. You could stop watching this video right now, and that would be okay. If you're curious about what Virtual Edmond content looks like, why we built it this way, and how it could be useful to you long-term, then keep watching. As educators, we design learning experiences to meet the needs of our students. Virtual Edmond students are in a different learning scenario than your classroom students, who currently see you 2 days a week face-to-face, and will eventually see you much more often. Virtual Edmond students are at home working through self-paced weekly content primarily delivered through Canvas. Now that you know the difference between the student scenarios, let's take a look at some of the content design differences. As classroom teachers and teams building remote lessons in Canvas, you are using Google Slides, and that is wonderful. For Virtual Edmond, we could not use Google inside of Canvas in the same way. We needed audio narrations that would not hit a click limit. We also have a broad scope of who we're sharing this with, so we can't deal with the layers of troubleshooting that come with sharing permissions and file ownership. Stay the course on the slides you're building, but you won't see that format in Virtual Edmond. Another difference between Classroom Canvas and VE Canvas is that as classroom teachers and students, you primarily use one homeroom course and you house all of your content in that course. Whereas Virtual Edmond students have a course for each content area, and inside of those courses, they have modules for each week. Your weekly classroom modules for remote days are very concise. The robust content is built into your minimal number of pages. Virtual Edmond modules are quite lengthy and robust, especially in their initial appearance. We've taught Virtual Edmond families to expect the big, overwhelming look of the modules, and that even though it looks overwhelming, once students start clicking into the pages, it will feel more like a children's book or clicking through Google Slides, nice and simple. The benefit of setting up the modules in this format is it can sequence students so they can't skip ahead, and it can track their progress. Every module starts with a hidden Info for Teachers page so the teachers can see the week at a glance and notice any changes they might need to make, such as getting a seesaw activity and assigning it to their students. Every module also begins with a week at a glance for families, so the parents and guardians can see what students are learning in that content area for the week. Every day inside the module has a start and end page. The learning content pages have a grade level stamp in the corner, audio narration of the text, and small chunks of learning content. When the student clicks next, they go through the pages. Some pages and components have a Mark as Done feature to add accountability for the students. There are also quizzes built into Canvas for immediate feedback for students and automatic grading for the teacher. Assignments submitted to Canvas all have a similar look in VE with the directions at the top and an evidence of learning section with visual cue icons at the bottom. Some assignments even have a rubric available to students and the teacher for scoring. As we're building VE modules, we're striving to make the content accessible for all learners and their families. This includes using subtitles on our videos and adding alt text to our images. You can see that Virtual Edmond's content design is very different from your AB schedule classroom use. We have some ideas for how you might want to use the Virtual Edmond content, but you don't need to do anything with it. It's built for a different situation than what you're doing with your students, and we're not asking you to change and fit into this format. In fact, we would encourage you not to use Virtual Edmond content for any of your AB remote days. the format is completely different. Your students would need to get into a completely different flow. It's 5 days of content instead of 3. Removing some of that content would lose standards and the sequential flow of the module, and they would lose the personal touch from the spin that you put on the content you create for remote days. We foresee the Virtual Edmond self-paced weekly content modules being most useful to classroom teachers when you have a student who needs to be gone from your class for an extended period of time, such as a couple of weeks. Specifically, when our school schedules shift and you start to see our classroom students on a more regular basis. But that also means you'll have less time to build digital content for students who need to be out for an extended period of time. In that scenario, if you chose to use some of the VE modules to support your extended absence students, you would still have to spend time and energy to set it up and to enroll them and support those students while they're out of your class. But you wouldn't have to build all of that content from scratch. In that special situation, you could start a new course in Canvas and name it something like your Extended Absence Learning class. You wouldn't necessarily want to use an existing class where all of your students were enrolled because they wouldn't all need an extended absence content class all the time. You would import the modules from Virtual Edmond for each content area that align to what your students are learning in class. You would then rename those modules so that they had the date range and the content area in order to make them easier for families to understand. You would review each module, specifically the Info for Teachers page, so that you could make any customizations that were required. You would use the People section to enroll and remove students so they were only in this course when they needed it for an extended absence. And you'd need to teach those students and families how to use this very different flow in Canvas. If you're still excited about looking into this, you could go to the teacher dashboard, find the elementary page, and scroll to the very bottom, which has the link to this video, a one-pager of Virtual Edmond ideas for you as classroom teachers, and the link to the modules that you could get and put into a practice Canvas course in order to explore. Remember, this is optional. The resources are just at the bottom of the elementary page if you are interested. For the pioneers who can't wait to go import one of these modules into a play class and explore, remember that when we rolled out Canvas to classroom teachers in August, you all dove right in and learned a ton, but we did not cover every feature Canvas has available. And some of those features show up in these modules, such as requirements, quizzes, moderating quizzes, and rubrics. If you decide to explore Virtual Edmond content modules in a sandbox or practice course right now, please know support is limited. The EdTech and curriculum teams are mighty but small, and their current focus is on supporting what you're doing in your classroom and remote days, as well as the rollout of the Virtual Edmond modules for VE. Long term, they'll be able to help, but if you decide to be a pioneer and explore right now, they might not be able to offer very much support. So as a pioneer, be empowered to seek answers when you get stuck or encounter something you don't know. The Canvas guides will be one of your best places to start.